Hello everyone and Happy New Year. I hope you had a really good and restful holiday break, if not a slightly quieter and more indifferent one to normal. Okay, so happiness out of the way, I wanted to start the year with a bit of a rant. I know, not exactly what you all need to help you with the January blues, but this is something that's been bugging me for a while now, and I wanted to share the pain with all of you. As a little bit of context, my washing machine broke yesterday, despite being less than 6 months old. So I know you're all thinking, what the heck has that got to do with data? But actually, there's a deeper story here. So I called the company, who will remain nameless for now, so that we don't embarrass them too much. And I spent almost an hour on hold waiting for somebody to take the call. Not exactly what you need on one of the first few working days of January. And during that time, I was listening to constant messages telling me that due to COVID-19, we're experiencing a high volume of calls at present, and it may take some time to get to your query. Sorry, really bad voice or impersonation or whatever it was there. But this message is something that has a little bit of a familiar ring to it. Last year, after the first UK lockdown, I was in the process of purchasing an investment property. And as you do when doing something like that, I booked a few appointments to view houses, flats and whatnot. And on one occasion, the estate agent, who again will remain nameless, again to protect them, or not to embarrass them in this case, didn't turn up. Didn't even answer their phone, and they weren't even at their office when I went round there to find out why I'd been stood up. Yet the next day I received a phone call from them apologising for the mix-up and the confusion, but saying that their diaries had all got a little bit mixed up, and unfortunately COVID-19 was confusing everything within their business. To tell another story, last summer I went for a few days away with the family, again post-lockdown, a quiet retreat to allow all of us to relax in the middle of a mentally tough year. The hotels have been open for a good few months at this point, so I thought everything should be kind of shipshape and working and organised. When we turned up, we had to wait an additional 2 hours to get into our room, and on each morning there were massively long queues, over 20 minutes of snaking people around the reception area for breakfast. And on each occasion, we're so sorry, it's COVID-19. COVID-19 has caused all these operational issues and all these problems. And I could go on telling similar stories of poor customer service being blamed on COVID-19 on a global pandemic. I've had problems with banks, with energy companies, you name it. But I'll stop there. Let's just breathe for a second. The point here is that poor customer service is exactly that. Okay, perhaps in the first few weeks or so of cases being announced in the UK, you might be able to say we're operationally not working to our full potential because of COVID. But as time goes on, using this to hide the fact that you can't serve or service your customers is completely unacceptable. And in fact, if anything, when times are hard for everybody, this is when you should be making sure that your customer service and customer experience shines more than ever. And whilst I've sat here talking about some of the bad experiences I've had, there are of course many brands I've experienced that have been setting the example for others. As poor as my experience with one hotel chain was, another set their bar really high, and during a stay in just the first few weeks post reopening after lockdown 1, it seemed as if everything had been thought of. One-way systems, sterilised pens, clearly marked safe and clean tables, sanitizer stations every 2 minutes or 2 seconds probably, but the list goes on. Takeaway coffee queuing locally too. One shop clearly marked out the queue with 2-metre distances between each customer, and they even had a marshal standing at the front of the store, greeting you, telling you that they were really happy to welcome you into their shop and how you should queue and how the new process works. And there are many others that have done a great job too, and I couldn't possibly name all of them right now. But what did those brands do right, and what did the others get so wrong? Well, I'm sure there are probably well and poorly oiled operations respectively sitting behind these brands. But in the case of the well-oiled machines, I suspect they'd all taken some time to really understand their customers and the experience that they want. In the case of the hotel, they thought, what would help make the customers feel safe? How can we keep people moving around, not queuing and congregating in various parts of the hotel, almost creating infection bubbles with masses of people standing around? In the case of the coffee chain, how can we still make people feel welcome, even if they can't come and sit down and watch the world go by over a seasonal latte? And indeed, at a time when customer habits and behaviours and feelings are changing, it's never more important to understand what makes them tick, so that you can serve them in the best way possible. January is notoriously quieter for many businesses, now probably more so with the UK going into another full lockdown, and it makes it the perfect time to sit down and look at the information you have on your customers. Now I know all of you are thinking, but that's going to cost the earth, and after a year that's hit my pocket hard, I don't have the funds. But actually you can get a long way by just investing a very small amount of time and money with a good analyst. More importantly though, the investment will pay for itself several times over once you start acting on the insight in terms of marketing, branding, operations, everything really. And despite the unimaginable changes we've all gone through in the past year, people are still creatures of habit. Maybe changing habits at present, but habits all the same. Think about some of the trends that emerged when we first went into lockdown. Panic buying. When we went into lockdown 2, what happens? Yes, panic buying comes back. And now lockdown 3, and guess what? The supermarket websites were inundated with activity when the announcement was made a few nights ago. Were any of us surprised when this happened? No, of course not, because we've seen it in lockdown 1 and we've seen it in lockdown 2. And the point here is that even through uncertainty, we can still train predictive models to understand customer behavior. Yes, we may have to retrain them more regularly than we did before, but that just means we're prepared for even more eventualities in a range of different possible scenarios. At a time when more people are feeling alone, isolated and unsure of themselves, treating them well is something that will be remembered long past the pandemic. And this could be the difference between failure and survival during really tough times. We've seen brands disappear from the high street at rapid scale, particularly over the past year. So get it right, invest in customer analytics now. And not only will you see happy returning customers, but you'll still be there to see them once we've passed the peak and past the awful atrocities that this pandemic has seen. And while you're taking the time to make that investment, if times are challenging for you as a brand, just say so and tell your customers and be honest with them and tell them what you're doing to solve it. Don't just say, I'm really sorry for the poor customer service, but COVID-19's hit us really hard. It's past the point when people will understand or see that as a valid reason. Now, of course, at Datacove, we excel in analysing customer data and generating insight and building strategies off the back of it. It's what we've been doing for years, and we'd love to hear from you and help you make a success of your customer data at a very, very challenging time. You can get in touch in all the normal ways using the details below at the end of the video and on my channel page. And I'd also love to hear some of your experiences of brands during lockdown and the coronavirus crisis. What's been good? What's been bad? And of course, like me, there's no obligation to name any of these brands. I'd just be really interested to hear your stories and your experiences. Comment below or get in touch with me in the usual ways. Right, rant over. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully see you all soon for a happier video for 2021 or for the early part of 2021. I'm off now to call back my energy supplier and chase my complaint that's been going on for about 3 months. I expect that once again I'll be holding for over 30 minutes and listening to all their COVID-related excuses. But anyway, as I said, I won't rant too much more. See you all soon.